And today we're going to talk about diabetes, but not diabetes, if that makes sense. We're talking about reversing diabetes. And it gives me a huge amount of pleasure to welcome our speaker today, Ramesh Hirani.
Thank you.
He's been doing this and taking people on a journey to understand diabetes for many, many years. And a professor on one of my health webinars called diabetes the disease of luxury. And it's interesting because there are some parallels between what we're going to talk about and what Professor Kamlesh Kunti explained as a disease of luxury. Today's topic affects our community. There are a lot of people, not just in the Oshawa community, but the wider South Asian community who have diabetes. There are many reasons for it, and Ramesh Bhaja say about what are those reasons. There are obviously different types of diabetes. Many of you may know I donated my kidney 5 years ago to my niece, and after her transplant, she has developed what's known as transplant diabetes. And it's a temporary condition which she's being treated for, and according to her medical team, they're saying so it's caused by whatever was that they did during the transplant process. Diabetes, when we did the webinar, it was one of the most popular webinars that we did in the series at that time. Over 3,500 people have seen that webinar now. So Ramesh Bhaja is going to take us on a slightly different journey. And the journey is all about understanding diabetes and what we eat. What do we like? Yeah, 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 all of those things. And I am absolutely shocked when I see the graphics about some of the food we love to eat and what that does to us. So, and then we have a Q&A session. So, tomara je questions hoy to think as he's going through his presentation, and he will do his best to answer them at the end. That Q&A is about 15 minutes, and we'd like to end at 10 o'clock if we can. And we're going to start now. So Ramesh Bhai, it's a huge pleasure to have you here at ECTA Center. You said you've been here before. I don't know when, but ECTA Center is a little bit different now.
Yeah.
And the fact that we're having this conversation in a much more intimate space is all about why we refurbished the building.
Yeah.
And then you've done sessions at Oshawa Center as well. So I think you're a well-known face in the Oshawa community.
I've had some people come up to me and say, yeah, nice to see you again, right? So, yeah,
there you go.
It's really, really good to be back. No.
So I'm going to hand over to Ramesh Bhai, and please do, as I said, save your questions, ask those questions, and we want to have a really nice, frank conversation. Don't worry about, let's talk about it, because that's what this is all about. We all need to talk about it. Okay, Ramesh Bhai, thank you.
Thank you, Professor Ben. I really want to first thank Professor Ben as well for inviting me to do the talk. We started talking a few months ago. She's been on my case ever since, checking my slides, making sure that I give the right information. And so I really want to do you guys justice today. Today, I'm going to talk to you about diabetes. What is the cause? What are some of the common things that we think are healthy and maybe not so healthy for us? Okay, and some of those things are based in our cultural beliefs as well. And then I'm going to touch a bit on how, if you want to go on the journey to start reversing your diabetes, how you can start that journey. Okay, so I'm going to start with my own story. Okay, so how did I get into this? 10 years ago, I was working in Nairobi in Kenya, and I was on a trip back to Nairobi, and I was at Heathrow Airport, and I must have gone to the loo like 5 times, and that normally doesn't happen. So when I landed in Heathrow, I did a a blood test with my doctor in Nairobi, and she called me and she says, Ramesh, you got diabetes, and it's bad. So how many people in the room here have diabetes? Put your hands up. Okay, so do you all know what HbA1c is? Right, you all know what your HbA1c is. What should your HbA1c be? Where should it be? About 45, right? Okay, or 4 to 5%, right? Between 4 and 5%. So mine was at diagnosis 16.9, and my fasting sugar was 24.9, right? So it was crazy high. Anyway, she gave me a list of medications as long as my arm, and she says, right, you got to start on this. So I said, okay, let me just go home and think about this before I start on this medication. And as soon as I got home, the first thing I did was book a flight back to London, right? Because I thought, you know, this is Nairobi, anything can happen. Somebody might put sugar in my blood, you know? They might have got it mixed up with somebody else's blood, you know, anything could happen, right? So I wanted to get like a second opinion, right? So I came here, I saw a good NHS doctor here, and he told me exactly the same thing. And at that point, I thought, okay, you know, I've got a couple of choices now. I can either go down the medicine route, okay, or I can try and see if there's a way that I can change this. So once I got my head out of the sand, I started to think, how did this happen to me? Because diabetes is not something you catch. Nobody coughs on you and you get diabetes. It's something that happens through the lifestyle choices that we make. So in my logical brain, I thought, if I've made some bad choices in my life around my food habits and my exercise or whatever, I haven't taken care of my body. It's taken me down a road where diabetes is now manifested. And for some people, it might not be diabetes. It might be blood pressure, could be heart disease, right? It could be cancer. These are all lifestyle diseases. These are not diseases you catch off somebody else. So then I thought, well, if my lifestyle choices led me there, if I change my lifestyle choices, maybe I can go back to where I was. So at the age of 39, you can see I was diabetic. I was obese at that age. I was 98 kilos. I'm 6 foot tall. My ideal weight should be 73. So I was way over my ideal weight. So what I did was I ordered a book from Dr. Neil Bernard. It was on Amazon, and it's called Reversing Diabetes. If you type in Reversing Diabetes, you'll see lots of books on it. I just picked the first one that was there, and I started reading it. It's a very thin book. I got through it in a couple of days. Some of the stuff made sense, so I started implementing. Then I read another book by Dr. Gabriel Cousens, and another book by John McDougall, and I just kept reading and reading and reading. I started implementing. 6 weeks after my diagnosis, without any medication, my blood sugars were fasting sugars went from 24.9 to around 7.8. That's pretty good, right? But it's still in the diabetic range. And I couldn't get it below sort of 7.5. I was doing everything the books were saying, and I thought I still need to get it back down. I was determined to do that. So then I decided I need some extra help, and I went on some courses with these doctors, some in the US and some in India, and I got a bit like going to a boot camp, yeah, right, where you have no choice. You know, you can't sneak to the local shop and get some chocolate and some crisps, right, yeah, or some cake, yeah. It was a bit like that. And what happened during the boot camp, we learned a lot about how diabetes manifests, and we were given the right foods, and we were stuck in this place for 3 weeks, and basically I saw my blood sugars come back down to normal. Not only did my blood sugars come back down to normal, all my other markers improved. My cholesterol came down, my blood pressure was normal, and in that period of time, I lost 12 kilos of weight. Then the preceding weeks, I lost a further 10 kilos. So I went down to 72, 73 kilos. Right now, I'm 74 kilos, okay? I've not gone above 74 kilos in 10 years, no matter what I eat now. So my metabolic body now is like it was when I was 20. Who remembers when they were 20? You could eat whatever you like, and nothing happened. Yeah, does anyone remember that? Okay, and then suddenly there was one point in your life, you eat a Mars bar and you get a bulge. So what I want to share with you today is, you know, so there's my before and after picture. 39. I'm 49 now, all right? 49, okay, I look younger now, okay. So these are some of the people that have been on my courses, but more importantly, these are some of the diseases that get reversed when you make the right lifestyle choices, Okay, these are common diseases that people suffer, and you may not reverse it completely. You may make it better. Some people have reversed it completely. It really depends on how long you've had the disease, how committed you are. There's lots of variables, right? But certainly when you make the right choices, as you make those choices, what happens is your body starts to heal and repair. And the reason it does this, our body, the human body's very nature is to heal and repair. If you're in the kitchen and you cut your finger, what happens? Does it heal and repair? It does, right? You don't have to do a puja. You don't have to do anything, right? It just heals and repair. Now, we're very aware of our skin healing and repairing because we see it every day, right? If we get a cut here or we get a bruise, we have to cover it up because we don't want our skin to look, funny, or, we want our face to always look lovely and shiny, right? But inside, what damage are we doing? We don't see it, so we're not aware of it, so we're not sure what's going on inside the body. But the body inside also wants to heal and repair. That's what it's doing all the time. Some of you may know the reason you take your HbA1c every 12 weeks is because the blood cells, the red blood cells, only survive for 12 weeks and new ones are always being generated. Our kidneys are always being renewed, our liver's being renewed, our brain's being renewed, our skin's being renewed all the time. That's what our body does. It heals and repairs. Now, it can only do that if we give it the tools to heal and repair. And these are some of the common diseases that people suffer. These are lifestyle diseases. These are not diseases that you catch off somebody else. And some of you in the room will have one or many of these diseases. Put your hands up if any of you are suffering from any of these in the room, yeah? Okay, is it fun? No, it's not fun, right? You got 2 of them. Okay, you get a prize at the end of the talk, okay? Anyone got more than 2? Okay, you lose your prize. You get the prize, okay? Okay. So some of you will have multiple of these, and some of the diabetics will have high cholesterol. They'll have blood pressure tablets as well to go with it. You'll have the whole concoction. So through the program, we've seen a number of people go through reversals. So what happens here is this is Shutin, okay? And I'm going to show you before and after picture of him later. But incredibly, his HbA1c went down to 5.0. So all the diabetes markers are all HbA1c markers I'm going to be showing you. He lost 40 kilos of weight. He was 110 kilos, and he went down to 70. Now, when you're doing lifestyle disease reversal, I want to make it very clear, it's not a weight loss program, right? Nothing I do is about weight loss. I don't talk about weight loss, right? I'm not saying, do you want to lose weight? Come and do this program, or go and do that program. When you fix your lifestyle disease and you become healthier, weight loss is the byproduct, the bonus that you get. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to work for it. Because what happens is when your body corrects a disease, it's correcting everything. And one thing that the nation is going to understand very soon in the next few years, and it's already getting that way, obesity and being overweight is actually a lifestyle disease because it's the precursor to many diseases. So if we can catch up, what's the first thing your diabetic doctor told you to do when you were diabetic? Lose weight. So this is the sign. So when the body corrects that, it's correcting the weight loss as well. Okay, this is one of my clients from India. Diabetes went down, lost weight in 8 weeks. This is my sister-in-law, Karina. She didn't have diabetes, but she had thyroid and acidity, and she was overweight. Again, lost weight, and all of that was reversed in 6 weeks. This is Maina, my bank manager in Nairobi, who came to one of my courses in Nairobi, and he again lost all the weight and reversed his diabetes and high cholesterol. So like I said, obesity is the real precursor to all of these diseases, and there's so many of these diseases. Now, nobody here who has diabetes is going to die of diabetes. Did you know that? Nobody dies of diabetes. They die of the complications that arise of diabetes. And the number one cause of death for diabetics is heart disease or heart attacks. So there's many reasons for you to really look after your health and start thinking about diabetes as something, as a real challenge for you to reverse or try and manage much better than that. What other common ailments do diabetics suffer? Who can tell me? Have you seen people, when you go for your check, why do they check your feet? The prick test? Have you ever had that prick test? Yeah, neuropathy. And then if that develops, what can that develop into? And then what happens? Yeah, okay, and that happens regularly. Then what's the other thing they check? Yeah, right, so it's all the fine capillaries that get damaged first, right? And all those fine capillaries affect all those systems. This is one of the reasons it's really important to look after your diabetic health. So what is diabetes? Who can tell me what is diabetes? Right. So the first thing I always hear is blood sugar. That's not diabetes. High sugar is not diabetes. High sugar is a symptom of diabetes. High sugar is a symptom of diabetes. Insulin resistance is type 2 diabetes, right? So there's many types. We've got type 1 diabetes. That's an autoimmune disease. Type 2 is a hormonal disruptive disease where your hormones are not working properly. Insulin's not working properly. Now, you can't reverse type 1 diabetes, but through correct lifestyle management, what you can do is you can manage the peaks and troughs in your blood sugars. And when you manage them and they become much less up and down, then you need less medication, you'll have more energy, and your overall metabolic health will be better. But if you're pre-diabetic or have type 2 diabetes or gestational diabetes, all of these can be put into remission or reversed, right? These can be reversed. So what causes insulin resistance? So if we now know that diabetes is insulin resistance, when you have insulin resistance, your blood sugars go up. Now, most of you at the moment are focused on, let me keep my blood sugars in range, right or wrong? So you're going to be focused on your blood sugar staying in range. So that is like having a leaky tap. Imagine you got a leak, and what you do to make sure the floor doesn't get wet, you're going to put a bucket under the leak. Now, every time the bucket fills up, you're going to empty the bucket, and you're going to put another bucket under the leak. How long do you have to keep doing that? Forever. Or, what could you do? You could just fix the tap. So right now, what you guys are doing is you're putting a bucket under the leak by just managing your sugars all the time, because there's no end to that. But if you fix the leak, you make your cells insulin sensitive again, then there is no leak. Does that make sense? Then your sugars come back to range automatically. So what causes it? So number one, low nutrient diet. And we're going to come to these. We're going to talk about your diets in a minute. Having low nutrients. Remember what I said to you, the human body's very nature is to heal and repair. Now, as long as you have high nutrients, that's like the building blocks it needs to continue to heal and repair. The next thing, funny enough, is insulin causes insulin resistance. When we have too much insulin flowing in our body, what happens is we become more resistant to it. And a good analogy of this is, if those of you in the room who enjoy a glass of wine maybe, or a beer now and again, if you drink beer every day, you may need 2 or 3 bottles before you feel the effects. But if you don't drink for 2 months, after one beer, what's happening? Same with smoking. If you smoke every day, you may need a few cigarettes before you feel the effect. But if you don't smoke for 2 or 3 months and you have a cigarette, after one cigarette, you feel the effects. So when we're having a diet that's constantly signaling our pancreas to pump out insulin all the time, what then happens is our cells become more resistant to the effects of insulin. Does that make sense? All right. The most important and the biggest cause of insulin resistance is fat, and fat in our cells. I'm going to talk about that in the next slide. Here we go. This is a cell, okay? What happens is when we eat food, the food converts to glucose, because glucose is the energy that we need, right, to function. So there's your glucose in the bloodstream. At the same time, the pancreas will secrete insulin into the bloodstream. Insulin is a hormone. Hormones tell our body what to do. They just give instructions. That's what they do. So in this case, insulin gives many instructions, but on this particular instance, it's telling this cell, like a key, goes into this lock, turns, and it opens these gates to allow the glucose to go into the cell. So now the glucose is in the cell, and the cell will store that glucose as energy. When the glucose goes into the cell, it comes away from your bloodstream, which is why in a normal, regular person without diabetes, their blood sugars after a meal will go back to normal after about 1.5 hours to 2 hours. Now, if you have diabetes and you have insulin resistance, that means the insulin is not working properly. Now, if the insulin cannot signal the cell will not know there's glucose in the bloodstream and won't open these gates to allow the glucose to go into the cell. So where does the glucose remain? In the bloodstream, which is why you have high blood sugar. Does that make sense? So it's very important that you understand how insulin resistant works. Now, what causes the insulin to stop working? It's fat cells. So what happens is, imagine a key, right, your front door. If somebody's put some gum in there and you try and open the door, will your door open? No, it won't open. So that's what's happened. The fat, you get so much accumulation of fat in your cells, the insulin stops working and the cell will stop taking the glucose into the cell. And then the glucose remains in your blood. The other thing that happens as well for diabetics, for long-term diabetics, is your pancreas will slowly lose its ability to produce insulin, right? So you may be type 2 diabetic, but how many of you in the room started on tablets, or one tablet, went on to 2, then 3, then 4, and then you went on to injections? Anyone? Yeah, a couple of people. Basically what happens, it gets to a point where you need more and more insulin, because what happens is your pancreas produces insulin from the beta cells. Now the first circle is a normal functioning cell. The second one, you can see it's working very hard. Now what happens is when beta cells overwork, at some point they just die. And unfortunately the body doesn't reproduce beta cells. So as you lose them, you lose your ability to make insulin. So what went wrong? Why is it that diabetes is one of the fastest growing lifestyle diseases, right? Over 400 million people in the world have diabetes. In fact, India is now becoming the capital of diabetes. China's catching up. America's not far behind, and neither is UK. What went wrong? We went from natural foods to processed foods. We went from whole foods to refined foods. We went from predominantly plant-based foods to predominantly animal-based eating. And we went from organic foods to mass-produced foods that use fertilizers and pesticides. All of this takes away all the nutrients and the right kind of food that your body is designed for. So this is the kind of food I remember when I was young. Mum would make chapati and rotli. I don't remember ever ordering a pizza when I was in my 10 to 15 years old. It never happened. Now my daughter, where is she gone again? Just yesterday, she said to me, "Can I have pizza, Dad?" So this is like the new lifestyle. You see, this is what happens. That's the new birthday party, okay? Right or wrong? Who recognizes this? Right, let's keep the kids quiet, take them to McDonald's. I mean, look at this. Now this is not photoshopped, okay? This is the reality that we're living in. So we've gone from really understanding what food is, food as medicine, to now it's just something that we need to get as fast as we can, put it in our body, so we can keep doing our stressful job, being in our stressful marriage, dealing with our stressful children, handling our stressful finances. Okay, no thought to our health. So that's where we are. Okay? Okay, so you've probably seen these National Geographic where somebody's dug up a dinosaur from 200 million years ago, and they go through the anatomy, and there's always a scientist that says this dinosaur would eat this kind of vegetation or this kind of animal or something, right? They know exactly what that dinosaur would eat. How do they know that? Because there's biological markers in the body. They know what to look for, and once they look for those markers, they understand very quickly that this was the diet for this species. Make sense? So if I ask you now, everybody in the room, you can say all at once, what does a cow eat? Grass. What does a lion eat? Meat, right? It's obvious, yeah? Right? Now, did anyone tell the cow what to eat? How did it know? It just knows. Did the lion go to school and pass an exam? Were they told by their parents? Were they told by some classroom, right? Or some advertisement that this is good for you, eat this zebra. No, they just know. So why is the human species so different? Why do we need to take nutrition classes? Why do we need advertising on TV that says, eat this is fortified with vitamins? Why do we need all this? Well, the answer is we don't, right? We live in a commercial world. And how many of you remember when your children were young babies, less than 1 year old? Could you force them to eat anything they didn't want to eat? You couldn't. They knew exactly what was food and what wasn't. If you put an apple in front of a baby, they pick it up and they bite it. If you put a rabbit in front of a baby, they stroke it. They don't bite it. They know exactly what is food and what isn't. We also have biological markers that tell us exactly what is the right fuel for our engine. And our engine is our digestive tract. So why do I call it the engine? Because that powers everything. Whatever we eat converts to glucose, powers our body, powers our mind, powers everything. Okay? So this is our engine. So that engine starts from our mouth and finishes at the bottom. Everything in between is our engine. And did you know there's over 300 biological markers that any scientist could look at to determine what is the most suitable diet for this engine? Just like those anthropologists would look at the dinosaur and say, this is the right thing for them, right? So take a look at this. So first we compare a lion or a carnivore to a human. If you look at all the different things, there's so many things there. I'm just going to mention one thing on this diagram, is the length of our digestive tract. Did you know that humans' length of digestive tract is between 16 and 18 times the length of our spine? For carnivores, it's 4 to 6 times. Now, all herbivores is 16 to 18. We're 16 to 18. So that's your first clue. Next, carnivores have a certain type of teeth. Notice, how sharp are those teeth? Check your teeth out. How sharp? Herbivores look like this, right? Omnivores have molars and they have very sharp canines, okay? So you take a look at this picture and decide which one is your teeth closest to, okay? Some people say, yeah, but I've got canines. No, they're just called canines. We just call them canines. A canine is something that can bite into flesh and tear without your teeth falling out your gums. We can't do that. We don't have the ability to do that. All herbivores sip water. All carnivores lap water. How many of you lap water? Have you seen your children lap water? Have you secretly found your partner lapping water when you're not looking? It doesn't happen, right? Okay. And did you know that we have no protein receptors or fat receptors in our tongue? That's another clue, because when you bite into flesh, it's mostly fat and protein. And this is the biggest clue of all. This is what we've all lost touch with, is our instincts. So we're going to do a quick experiment just now. All of you close your eyes. Imagine you're in a beautiful vineyard like the one on the screen. You can close your eyes. Could be in India, could be in Italy, could be here. Think of your favorite fruit. I know which is mine, is mangoes, okay? For you, it might be oranges or whatever, right? But I'm going to go with mangoes. Imagine it's time for the mangoes to be harvested. You're walking through the vineyard. You can smell the mangoes. What do you feel like doing? Your mouth is watering. What do you feel like doing? Yeah, you want to pick and eat it. You don't have to think about it. You know it's food. Now imagine you're in a field and you see a sheep bouncing across the field. What do you feel like doing? Does anyone feel like chasing it down and eating it? No. Right, now, I want you to imagine for a moment that you're a dog. And you're walking through the mango field or the orange field. Do you feel like jumping up and eating a mango? No. But then you see the rabbit jumping across the field. What do you feel like doing? Chasing it down. Instincts. So when in doubt, you just trust your instinct. Your instincts will tell you exactly what to do. So how do we make it right? We go from processed foods back to natural foods. We go from refined foods back to whole foods. We go from predominantly animal-based foods back to predominantly plant-based foods. And we try and go as organic as we can, okay? I can see some of you are still in the field. You can open your eyes now, right? Okay? So let's look at the cause of disease. So number one is we consuming way too much animal protein. And the biggest portion of that in most societies is dairy. Why? Because we have milk in our cereal, milk in our tea, then we have yogurt, then we have cheese sandwiches, cheese on our pizza, then we have cream everywhere. I mean, it's everywhere, right? And if you look in your biscuits, there's normally milk powder. I mean, it's everywhere. Yeah, it's just crisps. It's in everything, okay? And then there's obviously meat, fish, and eggs. The other thing that's happening is we're eating far too much fat, far too much fast food, far too much refined products. Then we're having a lot of processed foods. So how many people love biscuits? Completely processed, but if you look at the ingredients, it says wheat. Does it look like wheat? Does it feel like wheat? No, it's not wheat. How many people have cornflakes? Does it look like corn? No, it doesn't look like corn, right? Okay, or Weetabix, or any of these things, right? Or Rice Krispies. Does it look like rice? Rice Krispies does look nothing like rice, okay? So these are the things that we're having, and then there's lots of all the chemicals on your food as well that are causing all these disruptions to your hormones. So if you want to start reversing your lifestyle diseases, try and shift to a whole plant-based and organic diet as much as you can, all right? Now, I want to just talk to you a little bit about dairy here, because I know in the Indian community, we are really big on dairy. Who loves dairy? Ghee, masala chai, yeah? Some people are shaking their head. Pizza, cheese, cottage cheese, cream. Okay, I know some of you are shaking your head, but I know secretly you've got that ghee no stash. And when you make your rotla, you put it inside your rotla, like that. Okay, and then somebody in the audience at the beginning said, I want laddus. You know what they put in laddus? Ghee. So some of you have all of that. Now, we have this, you know, often when I do my courses, people say to me, Ramesh, I'm going to do everything you told me to do, but I just can't give up cheese. I'm not sure if I can give up milk. That's the one thing people struggle with. And there's a reason people struggle with this. One, there's a huge cultural education that we've had right from the young age, right? Even if you look at Krishna, you know, he's got his pot of ghee, right? And we've been told that it's healthy for us, it's good for us, all of these things. So first of all, I want to ask you all, how many other mammals do you know that drink milk from another mammal? There's none. Only we drink from a cow. How many other mammals do you know that will drink milk from their mothers once they've become adults? None. We're the only ones that drink milk as adults. We're not designed for it, and we're not designed to drink milk from another mammal. Cow's milk is for who? Baby calves. Look around the room. Any baby calves in the room? We're not designed for it. Okay, we're just not designed for it. And the hormones and the consistency of cow's milk is designed to make a baby calf turn into a cow, in an adult cow in 18 months. So you can imagine the potency of that milk. Human breast milk is designed to take a human child to adulthood in 18 years, right? It's very different. And the clue is in there, why we are so stuck with milk. Because in cow's milk, in human breast milk, in every mammal's milk, there's a component called casein. Now what happens is when we digest casein, it turns into casomorphine. The name morphine should tell you that it becomes addictive. And that is actually really clever. It's nature's way of ensuring that the baby will always feed from the mother. They're addicted to their mother's milk. The problem is this: in cow's milk, there's 10 to 15 times more casein than in human breast milk. So when we're taking cow's milk, we get that much stronger hit. So some people say to me, Ramesh, I'll give up everything, even milk, but I can't give up cheese. Don't tell me not to give up cheese. And the reason for that is it takes this much milk to make this much cheese. So you have this much casein concentrated in a block of cheese, and now you've got maybe 100 times the casein. You may as well just be a heroin addict, you know, just walking around the street like this. Yeah, okay? That is exactly what you're doing, all right, every time you're going through it. And I want you to talk about this because I know it can be sensitive, especially in our culture, to talk about dairy. So it's, you know, your choice, and I would say if you want to not give it up, at least start cutting back as much as you can. And for those of you that want to take the step, I would say just try for 7 days. in 7 days, you'll feel the difference. That's how powerful it is to make lifestyle changes. So here's some before and after pictures. So do you remember earlier I showed you Shrutin, the first square who'd lost 40 kilos? That's his before and after picture in 16 weeks. 16 weeks, guys. He didn't do a single press up. He didn't go to the gym once. All he did was he put the right nutrients into his body, and the body corrects itself. Look at this one, eh? This guy here, diabetic for 37 years, on high blood pressure tablets, on high cholesterol tablets, and he was on insulin injections, also on diabetic tablets, metformin, as well as injections, 42 units, I think 40 to 42 units a day. And he used to go to work, come home, super grumpy, sit in front of the TV, not talk to anyone, and that was it. Then he went on the system, and look, he went from being a negatron to a positron, right? He lost all the weight, right? He lost all his weight, okay? Came off he's not been on cholesterol tablets now for nearly 10 years, not been on high blood pressure tablets for 10 years, dropped all his diabetic medication. That there is my dad, who's sitting here right here, okay? Okay. I'm super proud of him. And then this lady here, right, you can see, has to hold onto the railing just to balance herself, right? Okay, right? Was over 100 kilos, went on the plan to support her husband, so she didn't have any kind of lifestyle disease apart from obesity, which we now recognize as a lifestyle disease. Back then it wasn't. She went to support her husband who was diabetic, did all the cooking, and she lost all that weight. And that is my mum, who's over here. Can I say, both of them never used to do much exercise. They never used to do much of anything. Now they go every day, walking twice a day. They go to yoga classes. My dad learned how to swim because he had so much energy, he didn't know what to do. So and now they go on holidays like 2-3 times a year, and they don't do beach holidays. They do trekking. They do real activity stuff. And they're in dad's in his 70s, mum's going to be 70 in next year. And it's so nice to see my parents in their 70s being able not to just look after themselves, but in many ways, they're more active than I am in my 50s. Isn't that what we want for our retirement? Because look, let's face it, with modern medicine, we're all going to reach the age of 80 plus, right? Pretty much, right? With modern medicine. But how are you going to get there? Are you going to get there having this kind of lifestyle, or are you going to get there in a wheelchair watching your grandchildren play and you can't play with them? That's the real question. And that's up to you, how you get there. This is another funny story. So the bloke, right, he's never been to one of my courses. This is husband and wife. The wife came on my course because he was diabetic, and she said, I'm going to do all the cooking, and so I'm going to learn from you, Ramesh, and I'm going to make him eat my food. And he was like totally against it. He was like, no, he's going to make me eat leaves and salad and stuff like that, right? I don't want to do that. I'm a man, okay? So he didn't want to do any of that stuff, right? So she came on the course, and then not only did she lose weight, you can see he lost weight. He reversed all his diseases, and this is a before and after picture of him. And he's never been on my course or any lifestyle course. He's just eating what his wife cooks for him. And now he actually comes to do testimonials, having never been on my course. Isn't that crazy? So for you, what's really important is that you start doing your own research. Right? I've given you some information to get you going. And you can leave here saying, you know what, Ramesh it was great. That talk was fantastic, but it was total rubbish. I'm going to ignore it. That's fine. Or you're going to take some information and you're going to think, there's something in what he was saying, and I need to look after my health. Let me make some changes. So start doing the research. There's many programs out there. There's a lot of help for you out there. And it's all available on the internet, or you ask people around in your community. It's really there for you. The most important thing is you got to start and take the first step, okay? If you never take the first step, guess what will happen? This will just be another free seminar that you came to. But this is the most important seminar that you're going to come to, because it's about you and your longevity and your health. Make sense? So if you want to know anything about what I do, you can take a screenshot with your phone. This is my website, okay? And there's a contact us page, fill it in, and you can send me and I'll reply to you. Now, that's the end of my presentation. So thank you very much.
So Ramesh Bhai, thank you very much for that. Quite a lot of stuff for us to take away. And I think for us ladies, a big action point there, just cook what you cook and make them eat that.
Yeah.
So Ramesh Bhai is going to take your questions now, and he'll do his best to answer them. If there are any questions he can't answer today, you are very welcome to have a conversation with him offline. But what I would say is we're not here to give medical advice to anyone for your individual cases, because if you're under the care of your medical teams, then please, please do carry on with that. And Ramesh Bhai, I'm sure, will explain what it's really important.
Any changes you make, let your GP know what you're doing, right? Because they got to keep your medication under review. It's really important. Yeah. Oh, Prafulla Ben, I've got a couple of people that you said you wanted to come up for testimonial, or?
Or if you have somebody who wants to talk, yes, absolutely. We could do that now. And then take the questions. I'm very happy to, and we always love hearing those stories. Yes.
So the first person is Ketan. So come on up, Ketan. He kindly offered to come up today.
Do you want to come to the stage, Ketan?
So,
yeah.
Go for it.
We met. Hello, everyone. My name is Ketan, and I met Ramesh in 2018. So prior to that, I had put on a lot of weight. I had been on many different diets. I used to see a functional doctor, and the doctor would recommend going on a gluten-free diet because I was suffering from arthritis. Then he said, okay, gluten is not great for you, right? Because it's all processed. Why don't you try the ketogenic diet, which is high fat, low carb? So I did that for a while. It worked, and then it stopped working because I didn't control it. So I put on a lot of weight. So anyway, at the end of 2017, I went on a nice holiday to Dubai. I went crazy. I enjoyed my food, and I said, in 2018, I'm going to lose some weight. Now, I was also pre-diabetic at that time. And then a friend of mine sent me forwarded a talk that Ramesh was going to do at Shrutin's house. So I went there, and I listened to Ramesh, and basically just went through what he went through today in a bit more detail. And it completely resonated with me. So I signed up for, at that time, Ramesh was doing a 4-week course in how to basically change your food lifestyle, right? Go whole plant-based, oil-free, and so on. So my wife and I went on the course, and it worked extremely well. So within, I would say, probably about 4 months, 5 months, I went from about 84 kilos right down to 65 kilos. All my blood markers improved tremendously, and I kind of maintained it there. So for, I would say, pre-COVID, I was fine. I was in that state. I was basically eating largely organic, whole plant-based, oil-free, and I had to figure out what I do when I go outside. So that was pretty much my lifestyle. And then post-COVID, due to some personal reasons, I started eating junk food again. So although generally speaking at home, my wife cooks oil-free food, it's a shark rotli. So rotli, obviously, you put a little bit of whole plant-based to just make the rotli, but everything else was oil-free. So that was fine. But then, occasionally I will have a McDonald's, veggie burger, right? I would have some pasta, ordering some takeaway. I started snacking at night. And I started putting on weight again. So I went from 65, peak this year was 82 kilos. And then I see the functional doctor again. So I went to see the doctor this year. I thought everything would be fine. They'd probably say, you put on weight, you need to lose some weight, and so on. And lo and behold, when I met her after the results came out, she said, "You're diabetic." I was shocked. Now, I thought I was having a healthy lifestyle, oil-free and all that kind of stuff. I didn't realize that all this cheating I was doing, not realizing I was doing it, was actually basically taking me back towards becoming diabetic. At that time, Ramesh happened to message all of us. So the course I went on to, Ramesh does keep in touch, and he said he's doing a talk, a Zoom. So I joined that, and Ramesh is quite inspirational. So I basically, at that point, it's like a combination of two things. The diabetes result, and then listening to Ramesh, it basically just got me back into, the program. So part of it is, Ramesh has got an accountability class every month, just to kind of make sure that you do what you want to do. But at the same time, I was motivated to reverse my diabetes. So Ramesh mentioned about the HB1AC. I was told it was 47. Now, I think some of the measurements are, because that's mmol. So I thought, okay, I've got to do something about this. So I basically went back to whole plant-based completely. I cut out grains as well, just to reduce the amount of carbs I ate. So I ate a lot of green food, greens, green smoothies, loads of salads. I would eat a lot of shark, right? But no rotli, no bath, all that kind of stuff. So this was just to get myself into kind of go towards insulin sensitivity. One of the things that Ramesh says also is do intermittent fasting. So after I started back on this path, I did intermittent fasting. I did Ektanu for like 4 or 5 days. I followed that up with a 2-day fast. And it's amazing, just over that 1 week, I just saw my weight piling off. So literally, and I was doing a lot of walking as well at the same time. So probably a combination of all that. And I just, the weight started piling off. So this was, I got my, the diagnosis in May. So I was 82 kilos then. Now I'm at 65 kilos. And literally in that space of time, a few months, I basically lost all that weight. But it's a byproduct of me becoming insulin sensitive. I don't know if you noticed this, but this is a glucose monitor. So I kind of a continuous glucose monitor. So I wear that just to see, the stuff I'm eating, what kind of impact that's having to my blood sugars. And, I managed to control that. And now, this thing tells me what my estimated HB1AC is, and it's really dropped down to normal levels, which is great. I haven't gone back to my doctor yet. So, the doctor, I had a nurse, call me to see her. She did that, the test on the feet, didn't give me any advice at all. And that was it. And then I got another call from NHS saying, you need to see someone, who will check your eyes. So kind of Western medication or Western approach is very different. I think I completely agree with what Ramesh said. The lifestyle and the food you eat, makes a massive difference. And I went from 80, in 2018, at the start, I was 82, 85 kilos. I'm just going to say that because it's quite dramatic. I went down to 65, then I went back to 82, and now I'm back down to 65 again. And that's purely from just what I eat and and a little bit of exercise, which is walking.
Thank you very much, Kevin. This is a prime example of what happens when you give your body the right tools it needs to heal and repair, right? Because he did it once, he went back to his old ways, the body spiraled down, he recognized, did it again. Thank you. Yeah. And his body is healing and repairing again, right? Your body always wants to heal and repair. You just got to give it that chance. I'm going to hand over to Monica now. Yeah? Yeah, just give a little testimonial, whatever you want.
Hi. So at the same time as Ketan Bhai, I took part on the course as well. My results weren't as good as Ketan Bhai, but what it did do, it really changed my body. Like I started having a glow. I felt better within myself because I have thyroid issues. I've had them since I was 21. Losing weight for me is not an easy thing. It's like a yo-yo. And when I was with Ramesh, I don't think I lost any weight, I think, at that time. But after I kind of left him and I carried on everything that he said and I followed it through for a good, I think, 3 years. I managed to do it for 3 years. It made a massive difference, but it was still yo-yoing up and down. And I think the other thing that you need to think about are the stresses in your life. You have to try and take the stresses out of your life as well, because when you take the stresses out of your life with everything that we do with you, it makes a massive, massive difference. So I think that's what happened to me.
Yeah.
And I've gone from 110 kilos to 88. I want to lose another 10 kilos, but with my thyroid levels, I'm struggling. I might have to come back to you. But that's my story. And I feel a lot healthier and happy within myself. And that's all that really matters. And it's a slow process. Is there any questions? Yeah, do you want to come to the front?
So just before you ask your question, I just want to wrap up with Monica.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
So remember, when you're doing lifestyle reversal, disease reversal, lifestyle changes, you're not doing a weight loss program. And not everybody loses weight initially. So that's what happened with Monica. But the common things that people experience is what she experienced. Ketan didn't mention it, but I'm 100% he did, is your energy goes through the roof. You sleep better. You wake up like this. It doesn't take you half an hour to wake up in the morning.
Agreed.
Okay? So this is what I mean about quality of life, right? How do you want to live your life going forward? In a wheelchair or with a spring in your step? So the weight loss happens as a byproduct, but it doesn't happen to everyone. Remember, you're not on a weight loss. In fact, people who are underweight, they gain weight because it's a correction. This is what's happening. So that lethargy disappears, energy goes up. You look like me, like I'm 21 looking, right? Right or wrong? Yeah? Except for the hair. I haven't been able to reverse this in 10 years. I don't care about it anymore. Right, my kids love it, so I'm fine. But that is exactly what it means to do lifestyle disease reversal, right? So everyone's talking about weight. Don't get focused on weight, because I know we all want to look better. But if you feel good from inside, you automatically are going to be looking better, right? The glow, she's talking about that glow. When you feel good, you have that glow. Yeah? Yeah? All right, thanks a lot, yeah? Thanks. Okay, cheers. You had a question? Yeah.
So Ramesh, thanks. Really good presentation.
Thank you.
Very inspirational. But you did mention about milk products, right?
Yeah.
Extremely difficult to get rid of.
Yeah.
Cheese, milk, etc. Paneer.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's
paneer?
there is a but then again in the market there's a huge alternative to milk products, and what are your thoughts on that?
So milk, the alternatives, some of them are good, some of them aren't so good. So things like oat milk and soya milk and rice milk, all of these milks are pretty healthy if you go for the organic ones. So next time you're in the supermarket, pick up an organic soya milk or an organic oat milk and pick up a regular oat milk. In the organic one, you'll see only 2 ingredients, water and oats or water and soya. In the other one, you'll see oil, salt, stabilizers, and all sorts of things. So again, you're choosing and picking the right thing. Now, one thing that is pretty unhealthy is non-dairy cheeses, non-dairy spreads, non-dairy sausages, non-meat sausages and bacon and all those fake things, right? They're just as bad, if not worse, because they're just full of chemicals and packed with things like that. So one thing I want to be really clear about today is I'm not talking about veganism. That's not what I'm talking about, because veganism doesn't necessarily mean healthy, because When you buy a bag of chips, that's vegan. Is it healthy? No. When you, there's so many things we eat that are non-dairy, non-meat that fall into vegan. I'm not talking about veganism. I'm talking about eating what is biologically right for your system and trying to make those right choices. So this question is really good, because when you start on this journey, you really have to spend the first few weeks looking at ingredients and understanding, well, if I'm going to stop this and I want some alternative to it, what's going to be the best and healthiest choice for me? And that's going to take a bit of research and understanding what to do. And another thing, guys, is sometimes, does there have to be an alternative? You know, I was in Italy with my family in Christmas, and we went to this pizza place, and I ordered a pizza without cheese. And the waiter said to me, "No cheese?" I said, "Yeah, no cheese." And they went away. And then the manager came back and said, "Did you order a pizza with no cheese?" I said, "Yeah, no cheese, it's fine, yeah." Then the chef came back, right, and said, you want no cheese?" They couldn't get it, okay? Now, to me, a pizza with no cheese is even more delicious than pizza with cheese, because the cheese alternative is even unhealthier. When I dropped milk from my tea, guess what I had? Black tea. It was fine. It was absolutely fine. And most of you guys, when you're having your tea, the milk isn't the most important part for you. It's the ritual. The ritual. You know, when you wake up in the morning and you put the chai on the pot and it starts to bubble and you put the masala in and the whole house smells of cinnamon and cloves and everything, right? And then what do? You put the milk in, and when the milk starts to bubble, you know what happens? It goes up. Then you turn the gas down and it goes down. Then you turn the gas up and it goes up. Then you turn the gas down and it goes down, right? It's the ritual that you enjoy. You don't need to go up, down 5 times. Makes no difference to the flavor, but we do it because we love the ritual. Now, some people say to me, soy milk tastes a little bit, just to cover the flavor. And once you get used to it, just like as human beings, we had to get used to cow's milk. The first time you gave your child cow's milk, what did they do? All of them. And to make them drink it, what did you put in the cow's milk? Sugar. So we forced our kids, it is called an acquired taste. It's not something we enjoy the first time. I haven't met somebody who enjoyed whiskey the first time they tried it. It's the same with milk. So when you start drinking alternatives, you will start to, you'll have to acquire those flavors or learn to appreciate those flavors, not as a complete substitute, but I'm stopping this and I'm starting this. Make sense? So have a different mindset about that, all right? Really good question. Thank you.
Food, when you're pre-diabetic, diabetic, type 2, type 1, certain fruits aren't allowed, and is that the case?
So,
because that's whole food, that's natural.
It is. So I'm going to say something very controversial to you guys, right? How many diabetics in the room? Put your hands up. Right, keep your hands up. Keep your hands up. If you, when it was mango season, you ate more than 2 mangoes in one sitting. Right, see the hands have gone down. Hands have gone down. Few hands staying up. Few hands staying up. Right. So contrary to popular belief, people think, right, if I eat fruit because it's sweet, my sugars are going to spike. Fruit is actually the absolute #1 best food for human beings. And if you look at any of these disease reversal programs by any of these doctors, right, including mine, fruit is front and center. So remember, the mango is not the problem. It's everything else that we have. So we might have a mango and then we'll go and have 2 laddus and some jalebi and some gatia. And then at 4 o'clock we'll have churro. And then we blame right? That's what's happening. You see, refined food is stripped of fiber. The reason our digestive tract is so long is that our food, we are designed for food with fiber. Fruit is packed with fiber. So is it okay to eat an orange? Is it okay to eat an orange? Yes. Is it okay to eat orange juice, drink orange juice? No, because they remove the fiber. Can you have mangoes? Yes. Can you have mango juice? No. Right? See the difference? Because once they juice it, it's refined, it's been processed, the fiber's been taken out. We need the fiber. The other thing about fruit is if you were to actually measure the amount of sugar in there, it's very little. It's because of the design of the whole fruit, we taste it as sweet. And that's why our mouths water. When we were doing that experiment earlier about the instincts, you're thinking about the mango fields. How many of your mouths were watering? The reason your mouths were watering is that is what we're designed to eat. Getan said earlier, he's cut out grains, okay? Now you can eat whole grains, but when you go further advanced into this, right, and some of my advanced students, we talk about grains, just think about this for a minute. When you're walking through a field of wheat and barley, some of you have done that, right? You've gone on walks and you see a wheat field. When you're walking through the wheat field, does your mouth water? No, because it's actually not our food. Although it's plant-based and whole and it's not going to kill you, right? It's still okay for you. It's actually not our food. And as you start to clean up your diet, and as your body starts to clean up inside, nobody will need to tell you to have, if you're eating 6 chapatis, you'll automatically go down to 2. And you'll increase your shak. Because right now you'll have this much shak and this many rotalis. It becomes the other way around. Automatically. That's what happens. And then soon you'll think, bhat? Do I really want bhat? Yeah? Because when you walk through a rice paddy, does your mouth water? Oh, it doesn't. But every time you walk through a field of fruit, what happens? Strawberries, you want to pick. Berries, when you're walking down the street, you see the blackberries. You see everyone picking them. And why do we do that? But that's because we're instinctually designed to do that. Does that answer that question, yeah? Eat as much fruit as you can, right? You won't put on weight. Oh my God, that's the next one, yeah? If I eat mangoes and banana, I'm going to put on weight. You're not going to put on weight, guys. It's the churro that you eat after the mango and the banana that puts on the weight, yeah? Okay? All right? Really good question. Thank you very much. Yeah.
તમે આગળ આવી જાઓ ને, please.
Do you mind?
આગળ આવી જાઓ ને.
So can the fruit be eaten with the other cooked food or any other food?
Okay, so Professor Ben, this is now turning into a workshop. Okay, all right. So fruit should be eaten in isolation. The reason is it's one of the easiest things to digest. Now, often people hear, people talk to me about acidity, especially when I do workshops in India. Everyone seems to have acidity, right? It's like standard over there, right? What happens is they're mixing their fruit with other foods, grains and rotli and shak and all of that stuff. And what happens is our stomach, when it secretes the digestive juices into the stomach, it will always choose the hardest thing to digest. So what happens is those juices are designed for that. Then guess what happens to the fruit? It doesn't digest as well. It moves down your digestive tract with everything else, and it starts to ferment and cause gas, and you get burps, and you feel uncomfortable, and all sorts of things. But worse than that, because it's not broken down and digested properly, the body's not able to excrete the maximum nutrients from that fruit. So the best thing to do is have fruit first thing in the morning, have it in isolation. Once you've had it, try and wait at least an hour before you have something else. If you can't wait an hour, no problem, wait half an hour. Even if you can't wait half an hour, even 10 minutes makes a difference. But just keep a small gap, or at least an hour if you can. Then you'll get the most out of the fruits that you're eating. All right? Great question. Thank you very much. Best time in the morning is in the morning. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One, your stomach's already empty. And two, we live a practical life. Most of us are busy in the day and, we go to work and things like that. In the morning, we've got some time to chop and peel our fruit and sit and eat it. And, fruits are a little juicy. So if you're at work, it can be a bit messy. So when you have those obstacles in the way, it'll stop you from eating them. And normally in the evening, when we come home, all we want is sometimes quite a heavy meal. So in the morning is the best time that will set you up to do it. And if you can make that a ritual in the morning, that will be, it's a really good thing to do. Yeah? Yeah. Wonderful. There you go. There you go. And I'll tell you something. If you can, take the brave step of removing that last bit of milk that's in your, where did you say you were having it? In your tea. That's always the hardest, because I know, yeah, okay, right? if you can take that brave step, that gain that you've experienced will really jump. With milk, it's not linear. Like the less I have, if I have a little bit less, I'll feel a little bit better. It doesn't quite work like that. Where the big gain happens is once you've eliminated it. Because once the body knows it's not coming anymore, the body shifts in the way that it heals and starts to process your food. So give that a go. I promise you'll feel better. Just hang on. Guy at the back's got a question. Yeah. Yeah. No, you got to look at your options, right? So, and I am saying lifestyle disease can reverse cancer. I'm not saying it can cure it, right? I'm not saying it will completely go away. It can go back a couple of steps. We've had lots of people, I work with a lot of doctors around the world that work with people, and actually instead of prescribing medicine, they prescribe food. And people have seen that their symptoms go backwards, because cancer is another lifestyle disease. We don't catch it off anyone. And it's a horrible word. It's a horrible word, the word cancer. And people get really scared. You know, if I got cancer, I don't know what my options would be. If you got cancer, you don't know what your options. You got medical options, which is the mainstream, and you got these options, and there's no reason why you can't try both. Yeah. Yeah. No, one thing I want to make very clear today is I'm not saying anything negative about the medical side, medical treatments. When it comes to diabetes, right now, the medicine that you're taking is completely there to keep your blood sugar in check. None of it is dealing with the cause, which is insulin resistance, right? Okay, when you look at cancer, what it's doing, when you go for chemo and you go for all these things, it's destroying they're trying to destroy the cancer cells, right? Is there anything there that is dealing with why that happened in the first place, the cause? So yes, with chemo, you can get rid of cancer. But you know how many times the cancer comes back? Many, many times. So with modern medicine, you can get rid of it, but you got to take some responsibility, because why did it happen? Right? Yeah. I'm not saying you shouldn't. No. I'm not saying that. And I'm definitely not saying that to anyone. Yeah. You must consult doctors. Even with diabetics, if you start changing your lifestyle and you start changing your diet, your medication needs may change, right? Because if your sugars are becoming lower, you don't want to be over-medicated. You need to go for regular blood checks. You need to tell your doctor what's happening. You need to be responsible. And sometimes, this is the truth, some doctors will not be supportive, and some will. My own GP here was not supportive. I changed GP, and the second one was. He was like, no, you got to go on, and that's the only answer. The second one said, no, let's try some lifestyle diseases, and we'll give you a blood test every month or every 2 months, and we'll see where you're at, yeah? And we can reduce your meds. So you need to find somebody that's supportive that's going to help you. And if your doctor can't do it, there's, like I said, there's loads of programs online. There's loads of places you can go now, because lifestyle changes and dealing with lifestyle diseases is now much more mainstream than it was 10 years ago when I first looked at it. Now people understand more. We are more educated. We have the internet. We've got information at our fingertips. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. And it's not about if I just have more fruits, right? So I talk about fruits, but the whole lifestyle change is a huge arc that you have to learn, right? Well, actually, it's a huge arc of unlearning first, and then things you've got to learn. So the questions you're asking me today, I'm giving you snippets of information, but that's the very last slide was, Go and do your research. Make sure you do it in the right way. Because just like any diet program, if somebody says to you, oh my God, you know, I've been trying to lose weight, and somebody says to you, try this. This really worked for me. And you try one thing, you don't find out anything about it, it doesn't work for you, then what happens? You give up. So if you take one thing from me today and somebody starts eating fruits in the morning, but their diabetes doesn't go away, you can be like, well, this doesn't work. Of course it's not going to work. You've got to change your lifestyle. You've got to look at every aspect of what's going on. And that's with any lifestyle disease that you're dealing with. Okay? Thank you very much. You wanted to ask a question? You got the answer, yeah? Okay. Anyone else? Yeah.
One of the things the doctors often say is that if you've got a family history of diabetes, yes, all these things are helping, but at some time there will be a need to go on tablets. So do you have a view on that?
Yes, I do have a view on that. So about 50 years ago, in India, there was about 5 million people with diabetes. Now there's 400 million people, right? So if it was genetic, right, like that, like if somebody in your family had it, then you're sure to get it, then the stats don't add up. And you can look at every country 50 years ago and now, and look at the trend, and you can see that genetics isn't the reason for the rise. But what you can see is where lifestyle and diet changes have come in has caused the rise. So a good example is the standard American diet, right? They call it burger and chips and drink. So what happened with that was, as the standard American diet, SAD, as they call it, SAD, as that increased in America, more and more diabetics came in. And when there was a pandemic in America in the 1970s, in China, there was hardly any lifestyle diseases. So there was a professor called Professor T. Colin Campbell. He went to China and did something called the China Study. You can read the book, it's fantastic. But the long and short of it was in this book, they discovered that there was no lifestyle diseases, or very few, in rural China. But the lifestyle diseases that never used to exist in China started creeping up in Shanghai and in Beijing and all the big cities. And what they found was this correlated with all the franchises of KFC, Burger King, and McDonald's opening up in these cities too, right? Now, there was no KFC in the rural China. There was no Burger King or McDonald's in rural China, so there was still no disease there. So that's not to say genetics doesn't play a role, okay? But what you mustn't do is make it a life sentence for yourself. So if your dad's got diabetes, it doesn't mean you will get it. Think of it like a loaded gun. Like there's a bullet in there called diabetes, and it's just loaded because you've got a family history. But if you eat all the wrong food, then the gun gets triggered. So there's two types of genes. There's the ones that you have no say in, like the color of your hair, the color of your eyes, how tall you're going to be, all of that, right? Then you got the other ones, which are the loaded gun, right? But the trigger never needs to be triggered if you're having the right the right lifestyle food. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question? Good.
Hi. I don't know if you're going to be able to answer this question, but in your experience, do you know of insulin is obviously a hormone, right?
Yeah.
Interactions of insulin with other pregnancy, miscarriage-related hormones can trigger insulin resistance again by any chance?
I know.
It's okay if you don't know the answer.
No. I don't know the answer fully, but I do know many pregnant women suffer gestational diabetes. And for often, as soon as the baby's been born, it can go away. For some, it does linger. And lifestyle changes can help that, because it's not like type 1. It's not your body attacking the beta cells. That's the only answer I can give there. Yeah.
I mean, just to give you a bit of context, I actually went into remission with my diabetes. Yeah. I lost a ton of weight, and in
Well
that
done.
process, obviously, I went into remission.
Yeah.
We decided to have a second child,
Yeah.
and I had a miscarriage, unfortunately, and that triggered my weight loss.
Yeah.
I was doing exactly everything.
It triggered
eating
weight gain or weight loss?
Sorry, weight gain.
Yeah,
Sorry, weight
okay.
gain. Yeah, even if I was doing everything, good diet, healthy diet, I was on a whole food, plant-based diet, exercise, everything. Just whatever took me to get there. So it was all continuing, but then obviously I started putting on weight, and I had to be kind to myself. So I said, whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
I've done it once, I'll do it again.
Yeah.
When I get time.
You will.
So yeah.
You
So
can
I've
get
already,
back.
yeah, I am. I've already started the journey now
Good.
that the little one's settled into nursery and all that, you know. So yes, so it's yeah. And by the way, kids can be brought up vegan. My kids are.
Yeah. So
From birth as well as.
I just want to
So
add,
not vegan, but plant-based.
so I want to add something that may be related and may not be. So first of all, I'm really sorry you went through a miscarriage. But a miscarriage is a super stressful and emotional time. It's really stressful and emotional. Anytime we go through that kind of stress and emotions, our body goes through this process of like, it's called fight or flight. And we're constantly spewing out hormones, and insulin is part of that, because it's, unfortunately, fight or flight doesn't differentiate between a stressful situation or you being attacked by a tiger. It's the same response that goes on in the body, right? So when that happens over and over and over again, it can trigger things like insulin resistance again, because you've got so much insulin going in your body. It's like the whole cigarette scenario I gave you, yeah? So what happens is you need time to, and that will also explain the weight gain, because insulin is, the other job of insulin is to tell your body to put on weight. That's what it does, right? It helps you store fat. So that's another reason why you may have put on weight. So if you're suffering stress or you've been in chronic stress, part of the lifestyle changes that we talk about is not just dietary. You've got to work on your mind. You've got to be healthy up here as well. And sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes it could just be doing exercise can help. Sometimes doing meditation can help, right? And sometimes if that's not enough, then sometimes you need to seek professional help, like a psychologist, or work through therapy, or do something like that. But that is something that you've got to look at that in the overall arc of your health. So it's not just what we eat, it's how we process stress. Thanks a lot. Really, really good question. Yeah. Just there.
I got a question. I got to come back to you.
Yeah.
I got to come back to the question. But firstly, I'd like to thank this guy. Thanks for the invitation.
Most welcome. Thank you.
Absolutely wonderful. A lot of things you've said. Mine, I'm not as clever as you. I'm all mixed up. But I've reversed my diabetes. But by different ways, in most of the things that you've already said. I don't know what I've done.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Doesn't matter. You've reversed it.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Now comes the question.
Yeah.
I'm no cook. I can't cook. I don't. No. It won't cook. If you tried my food, you would understand. What I need is, please, I need some help in what foods are you talking about? I know vegetables.
Yeah.
But I know it's a silly question.
Yeah.
But I need to know.
Did you take a snapshot of my?
I saw all that.
No, did you take a snapshot of the last screen?
Yeah.
My web address and
Yeah.
the contact. So just send me, because this is a really long. For me to give you like a whole list of ingredients and foods.
Yeah.
Will turn into a workshop.
All right.
Right.
Fine.
And we've only got another half an hour. I mean, that's a whole.
If I send it to you, can you just send me that
send
list?
me a link.
Yeah.
Send me your name and address, and put your comments in there, what you want, and then I'll get in touch with you. And that goes for anyone. If you come up with a question, just go on there, send me, and I'll answer as best as I can for you. Yeah.
Thanks,
Okay.
Ramesh.
And I'll point you in the right direction.
And Ramesh, thanks very much.
Most
I really
welcome.
appreciate it.
I really appreciate that. Thanks a lot. Yeah, most welcome.
Yeah.
One over here and one at the back as well. Yeah. Another one at the back. Yeah. 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 So the alternative. So first of all, she's talking about sugar and the dangers of sugar. So when you take sugar cane, right? Okay, so first of all, diabetics in the room, how much sugar cane can you eat? How much are you allowed to eat? Sugar cane. Say loud. None. Sugar cane. As much as you like. Any other? How much? 5 grams. Anyone else? As a diabetic, how much sugar cane can you eat? As much as you like. As much as you like. Because have you ever taken a sugar cane stick? When you chew into it, first of all, how much fiber is there? And second, how much can you chew before your jaw falls off? Right? Tell me how much? This much? This much? How much? About that much, right? Before you're tired. So now, imagine if you're chewing this much. It's super sweet. You got all that fiber. Now, I know you spit some of it out, but there's soluble fiber that also goes through. Okay? Now, when you go to the machine, you know the guy in India who's got the machine? To make this much sugarcane juice, how much sugarcane does he put through the machine? Right? Like 2 or 3 sticks. And how many times does he put it through? So could you ever do that in a natural sitting? No. So that juice is unnatural, right? And then we take that juice, we evaporate the water and we turn it into sugar. So sugar is poison. It's the worst, one of the worst things. I put it in the same category. I'm sorry, guys. To me, the worst 2 things on this planet for human beings is sugar, and guess what the second one is? Dairy milk. Right? To me, those are the worst 2 things, right? Prafula Ben said to me today, Ramesh, don't talk about dairy, we Indians, you know. But I got to tell you guys, for me, yeah, it's really important that you understand that sugar is poisonous, right? So how do we, you know, we love sweet things. Glucose is our energy, right? That's why fruits are so good for us, okay? But how do we then substitute? Now, I wouldn't recommend honey, one, because it's not plant-based, and it has a very high GI. Small amounts of honey is okay if you're not interested in being plant-based, it's fine. I'm not trying to convert anyone here. I wouldn't recommend any syrups like agave or anything like that. What I would recommend, and this is the only thing I recommend, is I take dates, soak them, put them in a blender, soak them for about an hour, put them in a little hand blender, blend it, it becomes like tomato ketchup, put it in a jar, put that in your fridge, and every time you need sugar, that's your sugar. Because have you ever opened a date? How much fiber is there? And because all you've done is blended it and put it in a jar, you've not removed the fiber, not done anything, it's still in its whole form. You can even put it in your tea, ladies, honestly. You can put it in your cakes, you can put it in anything. That's your sugar substitute. And if you're making something where you want something a bit tart, do the same thing, but use raisins. Okay, so you get sweet and tart. If you're making like a cheesecake or something like that, we've got the best vegan cheesecake ever on this planet, and we use raisins to sweeten it. So does that answer your question? Yeah. All right, great. Really good question. Thank you very much. And then we had a question. Sorry? So where does jaggery come from? So is it processed? When you break it apart, can you see any fiber? No? Sorry, guys. So I'll take your question and then I'll take your question, yeah? So I haven't had anyone with Alzheimer's yet, but I do talk about it. And my running joke is, I think I've got Alzheimer's because I keep forgetting my own children's name, right? Like sometimes I call her Yuvan, that's my son's name. And then, and so with Alzheimer's, I've not had anyone with Alzheimer's come on my program. I talk about it through the research that I've seen myself, and that's the only experience I have with it. But it's important because that's what they're talking about, type 3 diabetes with Alzheimer's. Yeah, so a lot of people who are diabetic will have other complications too, because their diabetes have gone a certain route, right? Or they've had it a long time and they've had other things, just like you have, right? So we've got diabetics with similar situation. We have diabetics with kidney issues and stuff like that. So when that happens, you do have to tailor the diet a bit more. So I'll give you one example. Yes, we do that. People who have got risk of kidney stone or anything like that, we reduce or eliminate any things with oxalates like spinach and things like that, where everyone else will have that in their smoothies. So we can, well, not just we, you should know to modify your diet if you have other conditions as well as diabetes. And if those foods aggravate those other conditions, be sensible and don't include those foods in your diet. Especially if you've been recommended by a nutritionist that this will aggravate this. Don't do that. Yeah. So diet's super important. Exercise is really important for metabolic health. But if you're trying to lose weight through exercise, you can do that through a path. But the fastest way to lose weight, if you're overweight and you're obese, remember, if you think of obesity as a lifestyle disease and you correct your lifestyle, that's why all these people are talking about massive weight loss. Let me ask you, Ketan, when you were on the program, did you eat less food, like people who are on a diet, or did you eat more food? More food. So one of my programs is actually called Eat More, Lose Weight, Gain Health. Because on our program, we don't encourage reducing calories. We actually encourage eating as much as you like of the right food. And when you're eating that, the weight comes off. But exercise is still important because we've got a cardiovascular system, we've got all these other systems that rely on us moving our body, getting our heart rate up, exercising. I mean, when you go for a little run or a walk, don't you feel good afterwards? Those are your endorphins kicking in. Those are important. So exercise is really good. Exercise is really good. But people often think, they don't think about their diet. So they're eating whatever they like, but they're doing exercise. Then it doesn't work. If you're doing all the exercise and you're coming home to a fried food and whatever you're having, hidden cheese and all of that stuff, then you're defeating the purpose. So it's again, the whole arc of what you need to do. Diet, mind, exercise. There's a whole arc to get this right. And I wish I had 8 hours with you today and I could do the whole program with you today. Okay, I'd love to, right? And then we can do the whole program and then you learn the whole thing. The whole system is so easy, right? Once you've got it, but you've got to get that understanding. And part of that whole program, the first half of it is actually unconditioning everything that's happened. All the advertising, everything you've been told, so you understand it in a scientific, logical way, because only if you understand it will you be open to listening to a new way. Make sense? Yeah. Yeah, it does. It does. So try and keep your, whether you're diabetic or not, try and keep your last meal at least 3 hours as a minimum, but maybe 4 if you can, before you go to sleep. There's a whole range of metabolic reasons why, because our digestive tract takes time for things to be digested. And, a huge part of good health is good sleep. You need to go into REM, which is your deep sleep, to be able to really do that good healing, because the best healing happens during your sleep. Now, if your body is using its resources to digest food while you're sleeping, it's not using its resources to heal and repair, right? And I know some of you are like a bit peckish and, I want to have that snack before a midnight snack. But honestly, if you can learn to just step over that, and again, I invite you to try this for 5 days. Have your last meal at 6 or 7 o'clock, go to bed by 10, you're going to have the best sleep you've ever had, honestly, right? And you're not going to wake up hungry. You might think you will, but you aren't. You're going to wake up really fresh and energized. Good question. Thank you. Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you.
So we'll do the thank yous, but I just wanted to say thank you to the audience for a really engaged conversation. And this is what these seminars are about. So we want to come here and we want to have the conversation. So thank you everyone for being so open. I'm just going to announce our next health seminar, which is going to be about breast cancer in October. So we'll publicize the date like we normally do through our WhatsApp groups and our other social channels. If you're not in our WhatsApp groups, then there's a QR code there at the back. You can do it through that, or come and see Joe, me or Monica afterwards, and we'll join you or send you the link to join. These seminars are happening bi-monthly, but we've got so many topics to explore now, so we may be changing them to monthly, and I'll invite you back definitely. So it did almost feel like we were having like sitting in our own sitting room and having this conversation. So thank you for making it so nice and so open. I'm going to hand over to Joe Ben to do the thank yous. But before that, in September, what's happening? Do we know? Those of us who are, yes, pollution. So look out for information about pollution. And I'm so glad today, Ramesh, you talked about eating early in the evenings, because that's one of our Jainism's main thing about nutrition and eating early. So aprende suka ye? Anatomy. And it's only now that we're talking about this in a sort of a fashionable lifestyle way, but Jains have been practicing this since ancient times. So I think, there's a lot to be said for some of these ancient learnings and therapies. Yoga, meditation's another one. Ambel, exactly, the intermittent fasting thing. And today we've also learned and talked about stress and the damage that does to our body and managing stress. And so there are ways, of course, to manage stress. We've talked about them in previous seminars. But I think one of the things we do, and I used to do, believe it or not, public relations for Weight Watchers many years ago. And I had a psychologist who used to come and do a talk with women mainly. And it was because women were worried a lot about their weight. And they always used to say, it's a thing in the mind. So I think when we're stressed, we go to the fridge and we eat all the wrong foods. Would you say that? Yeah. And I think it's the same with Hapare. When we're grown up in the households that we've all grown up in, loving chevro, which you don't like, obviously. Chevro, those of us who come from Nairobi or Kenya or those countries, Kenya no chevro, right? Right?
I'm going to put you straight. I'm going to put you straight, okay? First of all, when you go to plant-based and you look after your health, does that mean you can't have children?
No, I think you can have chevro, I was about to say. Yeah, but what happens is, right? So what happens is this same thing. Instead of the fridge, we go to those nasta and adobas, right? You talked about midnight snacking. So many of us probably do it. And I think, so your program is really aptly named Reset.
Yeah.
So it's not just about it's resetting our habits and the things we do that are actually reversible.
Yeah.
So I'm going to hand over to Joe Ben with that thought. And
So as you know, after Ektama, we do make a lot of puris, and we cooked last year, we must have cooked over 6,000 meals for people. How much of it was puri? All of it. It's not good. So we are going to try and redress it a little bit, not for Savantari, unfortunately, but we will redress it. How many of you have taken at least one single message away from today? I know I have. And I'm a real junk food addict, terrible, I am. Okay, so, Ramesh, I said about sugar. How many of us eat sugar, like sugary chocolates and biscuits? Because I know that's what I do at work, because it's just easy. At the hospital, there's a Marks and Spencer's, do the best biscuits. How many of us just crave and think, I'm just going to have a chai piet le biscuit to joyage? How many of us are like that? It's a terrible habit, isn't it? Biscuit maybe turn. Yeah, patra hoito. It's it is a mindset change, and it takes time. And I think, because we can't see how much harm we're doing inside, we think it's okay until it isn't okay. And then you end up in the hospital. We're lucky, we've got the national health here, everything is free. I used to be a fundraiser for heart and stroke research. And I remember talking about diabetes because it's so common. And I remember one Asian gentleman goes, nah, mane to kai nathi, I'm in the diabetes club. Because he was like, he's got his metformin, he's got this, that, and the other sorted. Diabetes club, but you know, it is that attitude. Diabetes is such a dangerous precursor to so many other things. Yeah. So I think we need to take it seriously. We all need to, even if you don't have diabetes, let's just be a little bit mindful about weight, about what we eat, how we stress, all of that. You know, you know, a lot of us probably work in a lot of stressful situations at work, and it's just too easy, especially if you've got an office-based job like I have. You know, my drawers is full of biscuits. It's terrible because it's just easy. We need to change our mindsets. We need to take some of this back, because ultimately it's all about us. It's all about helping us. If we look after ourselves, we can look after others. So where you started, you weren't a doctor, you're a property developer, right? Yeah. And look at how much knowledge you've gained just by doing what you are. Yeah. It's incredible, because I work around doctors all the time, but actually seeing your knowledge and your slides show, it's great. And I think sometimes it's better than listening to a doctor, because you've been through the journey. Yeah. So I think, you know, it's a huge round of applause for Ramesh Bhai.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's really very interesting, and really, was it just interesting, it was entertaining as well. And I think when it's entertaining, it's engaging. When it's engaging, a little bit of it remains with us. So thank you. Can I also thank the tech team? Dilip Bhai Kangya, thank you. Bhupesh Bhai, thank you for the website. And so none of this is actually possible without, can we say thank our photographer? Thank you so much. Sorry, I don't know your name. Anya. Okay, thank you, Anya. So none of this is possible without the support of ECTA. I mean, most of our ECTA volunteers aren't here, but, you know, to help set up, to make sure the venue's available. So I'd like to give a big round of applause to the hidden sort of force, hidden people. And of course, to Prafula, Monica, who are part of the committee. The whole committee have, you know, put the program together. So thank you so much to the committee. And, you know, we're planning, this is, you know, our wish is to do some sort of a health seminar next year, early next year. And I think, you know, diabetes is such a big thing. And I think we will call you back and maybe sort of give you a bit more of a workshop type of platform, I think. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. So the other thing is, so please make sure if you're not on our WhatsApp groups and you want to be, like Prafula said, make sure you are, because there's a lot happening at ECTA Center with Northwest. This is how you get to find out. So please, thank you. Thank you so much.